You know, an entrepreneur, I think, is somebody that sees the world a little differently. There's lots of people with ideas, but a real entrepreneur or business person is somebody who will take that idea and go out and test it. They have less of a fear of failure because, hey, there's risk in business. But an entrepreneur says, hey, I'm willing to put my neck out here. I'm going to try this and see how it works. That's really what makes the difference.
My name is Bisari Darvik, and I'm the owner of Lush Gourmet Foods.
My name is NATASHA WESCOAT, and I am an artist. I spent a lot of my childhood just creating, and so it's been a lifelong obsession.
My name is Dave Driscoll. Live in Indian River, share a barbershop with Mr. Saker. I stopped in here to get a haircut, and me and Mike just started talking, and it went from there, trying a partnership, and it worked out.
My name is Lindsay Gehrig, and I am the co-founder of the Mac Shack. My husband makes a killer mac and cheese, so that's kind of how it started.
This is a great time for that solo entrepreneur to get out there and you know, turn their idea, their expertise into a great business.
Small businesses are really what is a backbone of our economy in the country and in the state of Michigan, and it's really what started the whole country moving forward. They're taking the risk because they have the passion to bring something to solve a problem that they've seen in the market.
We've found that the business owners really prefer to get advice from other fellow business owners, their peer group. What they much prefer is to hear a shared experience. Yeah, hey, guess what? In my business, I had a similar experience. Here's how I handled it. Here's what the results were.
I always wanted to be in the kitchen, something dealing with food. So I thought instead of just doing back of the house, I could do a business where I can kind of make my own schedule. I went to school at Kendall College in Chicago, and basically what I ended up doing is a 2+2 program. So it was 2 years of pastry and then 2 years of food and beverage management, so that I could get the front of the house, back of the house type thing, and use both degrees for my business. So my parents actually helped me start out the business. We renovated the kitchen, so I had my own space. And as a small business owner or just starting out, it's really difficult. And it's nice if you have a little bit of financial backing. You know, there are different routes of going to opening a business. You can start out really small and kind of let it grow organically, which is what I've done. And I think that's really important, to let it grow on its own, and once opportunities come your way, then start to expand. Otherwise, if you start too big, you might get stuck. Then what do? You might have a ton of inventory or packaging, and you might not have orders to fulfill them, and you've invested so much money into this, and then where are you? So I definitely started small. I'm in the process of growing bigger now, and I'm actually really thankful that I did that. The first store I actually got was January of 2011, and it's obviously been about 2.5 years now. I'm in my 3rd year, and it's been a process getting more stores and just kind of taking it from there. But I took it the slower route. I started adding stores one by one instead of trying to mass market the product. And I think it's really important. It keeps the integrity of the product, and I think it's important also to be selective in the stores that you work with, because some of them might not be a good fit, some of them are, so I think it's important just to choose the stores that you work with. So when I first started out, I thought it was amazing that I hit the 10 store mark, or the 25 store mark, and then now just seeing the online orders come in and seeing that I'm actually reaching people all over the states is amazing. And there are some specific stores that I work with that I think are really exciting. For example, I'm working with the Hyatt Regency in Chicago, and that's huge. I mean, they're hundreds of people that come through every day, every weekend, and being able to be exposed to someone that comes into their hotel is big. It's so exciting having something new every day and just seeing the growth. It's exciting to see where I started and where I am now, and just seeing the potential of what can be of the future. So I do take it day by day, and because if you kind of look at the overall picture, it's intimidating and it's scary, but you just have to keep moving forward and continue to grow, and what else can you do, right?
Well, the food industry is just exploding. Business owners are really filling that niche. We see them kind of work out of their homes many times. They often start locally, and the sort of process is often test marketed out through local farmer markets. They very quickly can get a product out cheaply and test it, refine it, make it better, and then at that point, when they've got the taste, the delivery, everything is just sort of just right. At that point, they tend to come back and really work on the packaging, because if they want to get beyond that one-to-one selling that you can do in a market, if they're going to sell it through a grocery chain or something like that, they won't be there to hawk their product anymore. So the package has got to do the selling. They can use what's out there instead of having to go buy their own packaging equipment and food processing equipment. That's the beauty of how you can do it today. The art market has changed so much. We had a website called Etsy.com. Many artists and handcrafters are very familiar with them. It totally changed the game. And there's many others like it. We've seen the tools are there now so that artists can maybe live in a very small town. Often they want to live in an area that's of great natural beauty, that's inspiring to the artists. And but it's tough to do because the big art markets are in places like New York and LA and Santa Fe, and so if you're not there, sometimes you're missing a lot of opportunities. But I think now those opportunities have really broadened.
From the age of 3, I was constantly asking my mom for a paper and a pen. When I was younger, business was an obsession as well. I was always trying to find ways to sell things. So around age 17, I was getting involved in these companies, these MLM companies, which were sometimes questionable, but I had learned so much. I was reading books they were recommending and teaching myself how to market and sell products. And so from then, I was always doing something like that. I started an eBay business based on reselling designer clothing, and that was doing really well. And I enjoyed that very much. I used my graphic design skills to create these great listings, and I made pretty good money. I was always on eBay as well because, I mean, not only are you a seller, but you're kind of obsessed with bidding and buying things on there. So I was always watching these auctions, and I came across this one artist. She was a fantasy artist. I don't know what it is, but I realized this one auction, she was selling an original painting of her own, and people were bidding on it. People were rapidly bidding on it. It was somewhere around probably $500 by then, and it was ending, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that she was selling it, and it wasn't a dealer, it wasn't a gallery selling her work, it was her. And so I started researching her for probably a couple months, just watching how they were doing, and I thought, okay, I think I'll try it. I don't know if I can do it, but I think I'll try it. I started selling my work on eBay. I was selling them not for a bad price for a beginner and for no experience, and so I kept doing it. I waited till my tax return came out. I took that money, invested in supplies, and from there on, I didn't stop. Within a year, I was making a pretty good amount of money, and within another year, I became a power seller, which they give to people who are making a certain amount of money each month. I sold on there consistently and regularly for the next 4 or 5 years. But I started to expand beyond eBay and selling art to selling prints and licensing, which I was a very big beginner at the time. I didn't understand it very well. And so I'd found a company called art.com, and they had a program for artists where they could upload their images, and they could get a royalty fee from them every time they sold something. I started to acquire interest from other companies because they found me on there. So I had a tapestry company who wanted to make tapestries of my work, and I had a mural company who was interested. I continued to sell my artwork, and I did a lot of commission work with people. I found new clients because of art.com. They would find a print they loved and they wanted something much larger, which was great. So they had the money, and, and so I was constantly working on that for probably a good 3-4 years. At the time, Twitter popped up and social media was starting to become a big thing, and I became interested in video blogging. And so I was video blogging quite regularly and using social media to share and promote my work. And from there on, I started live streaming, which gained a lot of attention because a lot of artists were not doing that yet. When I would go into the studio, I would set my camera and I would just live stream my painting while I was doing it. And that, I got a lot of sales through that. There was a point in my career where I wasn't sure I was doing the right things and getting the kind of work I deserved to get. And I wanted to expand. And I had met with someone who wanted to partner up with me to help establish the business more and create more value, and in turn help me get more licensing deals and events and shows and all this stuff. So I jumped on with them without really thinking about whether they understood the art industry, whether they even understood me. They knew very much. One claimed to be a fan, and so I was at the time very desperate. And I signed on with them right away. And within a year or two, they had managed to get me one deal, and things were just not going well. I wasn't getting the kind of work I was expecting. They had actually turned off the license they actually managed to get for me. And I was having to turn down a lot of things. They just didn't have the vision that I had for my work, and I had to come to realization that I didn't need anyone else to help me do what I do. The art business, the art career is not exactly scalable, though it could be. I'm not going to be Thomas Kincaid, and I don't have to be. And I realized that what I wanted for myself was different, and so I had to cut ties with them. And since I had done that, I actually had acquired several deals and show offers and events that I managed to get on my own. I realized I didn't need anyone else's help. I could do all of this, and in fact, I did it faster and better. So, not to throw them under the bus, but that's just how it is, and I'm happier by myself, working by myself.
Keeping it simple, focusing on what she wants to do, and not getting bogged down with a lot of administrative headaches and all that kind of stuff. That's what really inspires people to want to work solo or work with maybe just one employee, one assistant, one partner. They're keeping it simple. When's the right time to bring in a partner? You really need to ask yourself, what's the reason for bringing in a partner? And that will really help give you some guidance there. Some of the main reasons for bringing in a partner is, one, money. Another reason is to bring in a partner is really that expertise and that complementary expertise to what my expertise might be. But I think the business owner needs to think about this. Can I make this a bigger business with this partner, so that my piece of the pie may not be as big, but I've got a much bigger pie potentially because of this partner.
Back in 74 or 73, I come up here visiting relatives, and me and the wife decided we're going to try moving up here. So in January of 74, we moved up, and I opened up April 9th, 1974. I had a couple other guys working for me, but nobody ever worked out. Just wasn't in the cards, just maybe personalities or something, I don't know, but it didn't work out. And then Dave come along, and what did we work, a couple years together before he bought in, and we've been here ever since.
I cut hair in the service, and I decided that it wasn't a bad occupation, so when I got out of the service, I went to school in Flint Institute of Barbering, and got my barber license. I was actually thinking about starting my own barber shop because barbering is a hard profession. If you work for somebody, you don't make the kind of money that you need to make. I wanted to own my own shop. But I needed a haircut, and I stopped in here to get a haircut, and me and Mike just started talking, and it went from there, you know, to trying a partnership, and it worked out.
It's pretty simple. I mean, Dave does certain things, I do certain things, you know. It just gets done. I mean, there's nothing drawn in the sand about you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It just, somebody's doing one thing, the other guy will help out, or vice versa.
It has a lot of benefits. I mean, like if you want to take a day off, the shop's still open. You're not dealing with other employees. Mike works for Mike and I work for me, and you know, we both pay into the shop, and it's a good system. It works out really well. Me and Mike, when we bought the building here, we sought out a businessman in town here and asked his advice on whether we should buy the building or not. And one of the things that he told us, and this was years back, but he says, boys, he says, you're young enough right now that if it doesn't work out, you can recuperate. But he says, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't take risk. And that really stuck. And I think Mike would say that too, that was okay, let's do this.
I think every business owner is different in terms of what they're ultimately in business to do. Some business owners are in business to be what some people term a lifestyle business, provide good for themselves and their family, and that's adequate, and that's great. That's a really viable and gratifying way to live one's life. Other companies have more of a social interest, and although profits first, there are things that companies can do with some of that retained earnings to improve the quality of life for others and sort of exponentially grow the area.
For me, it might be, you know, have a business that's worth $1 million, and for someone else, it might be have a business worth $1 billion, and for a third person, it might be somebody who can have enough money to go canoeing and boating and take an occasional vacation. So it doesn't matter what that size is, it's just really called a lifestyle business. And the good news about the lifestyle business is you're happy with that lifestyle. The dilemma where that becomes is that you might want funding from someone and others don't really want to fund your lifestyle. So as long as a lifestyle business it can generate the money that they want for their lifestyle, that's good.
You know, husband and wife, partners in business, certainly we see a lot of that. It brings up its own unique set of issues. We've seen some just great businesses that were husband and wife teams, partners that really, they live the business 24/7. Whether they're actually out there producing product, working with customers, or they're home, you know, fixing dinner or getting ready to go to bed at night, there's always that business stuff that gets talked about. I know some couples have said they've just got to kind of set certain hours, certain days of the week where it said, it's not business, this is family time, we're off the business for now. But in general, from what I've seen, the positives really outweigh the negatives. I think a key thing when a couple are working on a business together is that they clearly define one another's roles. So they're not stepping on each other's toes all the time. They sort of let each other have their own workspace too. That really tends to make things go along a little more smoothly.
My husband and I have a passion for traveling and street food, so we were already involved in one food truck. We're always looking on Craigslist, always looking for kind of that next venture and opportunity, and we found a cool little trailer that was for sale and just scooped it up and decided to turn the mac and cheese into a concept. My husband makes a killer mac and cheese, so that's kind of how it started. You know, we thought, what could we do with this product, and how can we bring it to the market and to the streets? So we decided to call it the Mac Shack because normally you will like put vinyl on the side of a trailer, you know, make it look pretty. But this was a little bit rough on the exterior, so it just kind of all came together like, let's make it a shack. Let's put cedar shake siding on it and just call it a shack. So that's how the Mac Shack was born. My husband, he owned a pizzeria for many years, a catering company. He's always been an entrepreneur. So for me, it was new, but for him, he knew what he was doing. So he just kind of needed somebody to come in and help out with the business end of things and, you know, keep all the costs in line and things like that. So I just kind of figured it out as I went. You know, I had some background in the financial planning aspect, but running a business is a little bit different when it's your own. So when there's nobody to ask, you know, what you're supposed to do in a certain situation. So, you know, we just talked through a lot of stuff and kind of figured it out together as we went.
It's wonderful because she's one of the smartest people I know. So, and she was free labor for a while that I could definitely not afford. So I definitely had a huge advantage of having a very high dollar person on payroll for very cheap. And that was my biggest weakness. I've never had any problem finding a niche in the market or bringing in sales, but keeping the money there was a really, really difficult part. For the young entrepreneurs out there, you really have to have a bookkeeper that's on your side. And then beyond just a bookkeeper, her background is in logistics, and she's got a big corporate background, which don't know if you can tell, I'm the opposite of a corporate person, but she brought those elements of the corporate world into my business, and now we married them, and it works out wonderfully because I think we have a good mix of both. So I think that the secret, if there is one, that we've found to be successful is just mutual respect and know when to quit talking about business and more mutual respect.
What we typically see is most business owners, successful or otherwise, they don't have all the skills that they need to really make this business a success. They typically have a certain sort of technical skill, whether it's they're a great chef and come up with great recipes, they're a wonderful photographer, but what about the other key parts of that business? Sales and marketing, accounting, finance. You know, some of those things can bring down a otherwise good business if you don't take care of those things. And so we often see the long-lasting businesses, the ones that do well, they're going to bring that person in to help to balance out their own skills. Go find somebody else that you can work with, whether it's that family member, that friend that you know that's got that expertise that complements your expertise. You got to cover those bases.
My recommendations for those that start out, you have a group of friends, some of them are going to be high-risk takers and some will be low-risk takers. When you're starting out a new business, you need to have both of those people as your friend because you're going to be the high-risk taker. You're going to have a friend that would never dream of doing that. You know, I know that you really want to do this, but maybe there's another route that's not quite as risky, but will get you the same result. Having said that, also look for resources that aren't all low-risk takers when you're the high-risk taker because they're always going to be kind of dragging you down and saying, you know, don't do this or don't do that. So you need to have somebody around you that's willing to say, go for it, keep going, going, because you're going to make it.
I definitely recommend starting small and letting it grow from there. It's great to have the goals and the ambitions, you know, to try to do better and try and get more orders and that sort of thing. But like I said, yeah, grow organically and it'll come to you.
The basics of beginning as an artist would be know your target market. Very important because then you're knowing where you're going to sell, where you're going to establish yourself, who you're going to talk to and connect with, network with, and where you're going to spend your time on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Another thing is you really need to teach yourself how to run a business. And that means going out and going to the library or the bookstore and really getting yourself immersed in the topics of marketing and business management, bookkeeping, very important. And then the third thing would be deciding what kind of life you want. Are you going to keep your job and do this on the side, or are you planning to do this full time?
Relationships are a huge part of being an entrepreneur. Nobody just puts $1,000 out there and is rich. You know, by themselves. You have to have great relationships, and I attribute that a lot to our success. So if you don't have money, make friends, you know, and keep your word.
In my opinion, the biggest way that you get customers is word of mouth. I would encourage any new person starting out to get heavily involved in the community and get your face out there. Get people to know who you are, what you do.
You know, things get challenging sometimes, you know, as it does when you own your own business, but there's a lot of pressure on you. But at the end of the day, you know, you have to step back and say, this is pretty awesome that we're able to do this. It's really cool.
You know, many people, friends and family may discourage you from going into business. It's unfamiliar territory to many people. You can hear so many discouraging words. So if you're considering going down this path, you gotta have those guts. You gotta be willing to go out and give it a try. You gotta be willing to trust your own instincts and go out after an idea that you have if you really believe in it.